The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, my name is Jillian Schaefer and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Using BI to Answer the Questions You Didn't Know to Ask, presented by Johnny Girardi of Dataself. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar. We'll answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment after the presentation to answer our one survey question. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. We've invited Dataself here today because they are the industry leaders in business intelligence. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels, so we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Johnny.
All right. Jolene, thanks for the introduction. Can you see my screen, the mouse moving, and hear me well?
Yep, I can hear you great, and we can see your screen.
Perfect. Thank you, Jolene, for the introduction. Again, my name is Johnny Girardi. I'm Dataself's founder and CEO. And today, the idea to talk about using business intelligence to answer the questions you didn't know to ask. I've been doing this for about 20 years, focusing on business intelligence for mid-sized companies. And hopefully some of the things I'm going to share today will be insightful to help you make more informed decisions and ask for new questions that you may not be asking. Quick agenda, I'll give a quick introduction about what we're doing here. I'll focus most of the presentation in the top answers sought by small and medium-sized business in 2021 in our client base. I'll show also how to answer ad hoc questions, and at the end, I'll talk about specifically how our solution has been used to address these two topics that we just talked about. So first of all, if you don't know Dataself, SWK uses Dataself as their own BI solution for a couple of years. Acumatica is a major ERP vendor. They use Dataself also as their BI solution for about 3 years. We've been delivering business intelligence solutions for small and medium-sized businesses since 2005. We have a lot of Sage clients. Sage 100 is actually still our #1 market. Acumatica is #2. And we cover a lot other ERP, CRM, and systems. So we've been around, and we are, as Jolene mentioned, a leader in BI for the mid-market. Technology-wise, what we bring to the table is data warehousing with tools like Tableau and Power BI, which is really empowering and easy to use. Overall, we make it easy, we make it affordable for mid-sized companies to leverage the latest and greatest. Before Dataself, primarily if a small business, medium-sized business wanted to use this great technology, it would be really expensive, really complex, and time-consuming. We're making it dramatically simpler and more affordable to leverage what usually Fortune 2000 companies can take advantage of. So the whole webinar is about what you know and what you don't know. So let's talk about the knowing concept. Most businesses, they focus a lot of their energy in what they know. So they have reports, they have meetings discussing things that they know and figuring out some of the things that they know. Give an example on the reporting side. One of our current clients, when they started with Dataself a few years ago, a major problem was commission calculation. They had a very complex commission calculation process, and at the end of every month, you're spending dozens of hours of a person running through procedures and Excel and copy and paste to come up with the commission for every account manager. So it would take, many days, a lot of effort. And when we started Dataself, they told us, this is a big problem. We're spending a lot of hours. It's frustrating to wait for the end of the month and get the money to the account managers. Can you please automate as much as possible this commission calculation? Well, it took us actually quite a bit of time to understand the commission calculation, and eventually we completely automated the process. And after we did that, they could see the commission accumulating throughout the month. Every day that we had the numbers. Okay, my commission is X versus my goal of Z and whatnot. So that's one example of using business intelligence to automate procedures that people know. It was very time consuming before, dozens of hours per month, and eventually became completely automated, calculated every day. At the end of the month, they had the numbers. As soon as they closed the month, they had the numbers. They could pay the commission right on the spot on the page, on the next pay run. So one example of what you know and how BI, business intelligence, can help automate those procedures to be less taxing. Now, there are things that people know they don't know. One example, we were in a meeting with a new client, and one of their challenges was trying to understand profitability by customer and how to look at the profitability in what's important. How can we use profitability to make more informed decisions? So when they got with the Dataself solution and they came up with this question, we know we don't know about how profitability can help us make more informed decisions. And then we went through the catalog of reports and dashboards we have for profitability. In one of them, when I showed them, they were thinking, that's it. That's a very good way to start the conversation from the right angle and start to dig and be more informed. When I do the product presentation later and show some examples, I'll show this particular dashboard that helped this particular company look at the profitability from a better angle to be more informed. And finally, what about the things that you don't know? You have no clue what's going on. Let me go back to the first example that I mentioned about the company doing the commission calculation, which is a very interesting story. So, we spent quite a bit of time to automate the whole commission calculation. That was the main goal. The first goal was automate this process. It's painful. We're spending a lot of money. Well, guess what? About a week after we completed the project and the CFO was happy that they could see the commission growing every day, he actually calls me back and he said, Johnny, after we got the main problem out of the way, I decided to navigate through the list of reports and dashboards, the canned list of reports and dashboards you get out of the box. Even about an hour into this, just kind of, looking through and finding things, I found a report showing inventory process issues. We had a major issue in our inventory processes that nobody knew, and we're losing a lot of money with that problem. And if I had seen this report on day one months ago, guess what? I would have told you, forget commission calculation. It's a problem we know. We know the problem, we know the size. It's bad, yes, but we have bigger fish to fry. This inventory issue was so much more money being lost than what they were spending dozens of hours per month on commission calculation. And he said, tell the next client, Dataself clients, when they start using Dataself, they should quickly look at these reports and dashboards you guys have out of the box, because sometimes what you don't know is more important than what you know. So that's one example of, sometimes what you don't know can be terrible, and until you know, you just don't know. BI analytics can usually help people figure that out more quickly. Having said that, now I'm going to go and show you the top answers sought by small and medium-sized businesses in 2021. And what I will do is actually, we have hundreds of organizations that we have been helping with reporting analytics. And we have seen the most important KPIs used in 2021. A lot of these clients are Sage, using Sage ERP systems in Acumatica. So hopefully very related to what you're doing. And I'm going to show these most used, questions and answers, as well as some that are also very relevant that for some businesses are extremely important and valuable. So now I'm going to start showing those questions and those dashboards. I'm going to be showing using the Dataself framework. However, the message is, if you want to take screenshots, build your own reports and dashboards with this kind of questions, please, you can probably do this in Excel, Crystal, in the Acumatica reporting tools. And then at the end, I'll show, if you decide to give Dataself a shot, how quickly you can get the same thing that I'm going to be showing you, pricing and time to put it up and running. So having said that, I'm going to start first going through the top 10 most used reports. I'm going to start with the number 10 per se, which is a open sales order dashboard. In primarily the main use case of this open sales order is to let the people or the person overseeing their orders to see the big picture, what's going on. So right here I can see the total open sales orders, what is supposed to ship to date, what is supposed to be shipping in the future. No, this is dollar amount, and what's late and very late. So you have the totals and see what's going on. And the idea is to have late things not at all are being managed. And then you can see by customer, by product, in all the details using the same color schema. So if I want to see what's slightly late, I click on this orange section, and then the whole dashboard will only show me the customers and the products that are being affected by this late perspective. So this is a high-level way to look at open sales orders and see usually things that are going out today that didn't go out yet. Well, by the way, this section here shows shipments that were supposed to go out yesterday, but they haven't. And yes, people should be on top of it. People should be notifying customers. We have a delay. But if you don't, sometimes there's big major frustrations. So the idea is, again, to let the people who are overseeing these processes to have a high-level view of sales orders, status, what's supposed to be shipped, and if something is not going, so you can quickly manage the problem, try to expedite what's missing, and if you can't, or as soon as possible, communicate with the clients to let them know there are delays. One of the worst things is expectations. If you call someone and you tell something bad happened, it's better than they realize something happened later without you being, forthcoming with the problem. So knowing what's going on and what's not going on can be critical to manage expectations. And that's the 10th most used dashboard in our client base in this year. The next dashboard is a sales dashboard. And this is probably more for the people who like to see trends over time and that they have seasonal business. Something happening this time of the year or the quarter should be similar to the same period, last quarter, last year, or last few years. Probably last year, everything was pretty hectic because of the pandemic, even this year. But regardless, this was the 9th most popular dashboard. People could look at, revenues and gross profit over the years, monthly, how it's comparing year over year. The dark blue is this year, a little lighter is last year, and the other one is the prior year. You can see growth year over year by month. You can see sales growing throughout the year, accumulated, and how it's comparing to the last year. So kind of very high level way to look at the trends. That's the number 9. Number 8 most popular report is, surprisingly, in my career, this is the first time that I see an AP aging report making to the top 10. And I think the reason why it became so popular is also the reason why we became last year, since the pandemic, a lot more connected with our clients and vendors from a problem standpoint. Like in the past, if the client would delay a payment, we'd be thinking, are we doing something wrong? If they're delaying payment, maybe it's our fault, right? Since the pandemic, actually, when someone is not paying, you think, is there something wrong with them? are they okay? And this works both ways, outbound and inbound, with your clients and with your vendors. If something is not happening with your vendors, are they okay? Are they having issue with the pandemic? I think in a way, as people, the pandemic, in a way, is bringing us together to be more considerate with everyone that you deal with, your vendors, your clients, your partners, and whatnot. And I think because of that, clients are looking a lot more, our clients were looking a lot more, the relationship with the vendors, are they paying in time? If not, how to manage those relationships with their vendors. That was the 8th most popular. I'm going to jump to number 6 because number 7 I'll be talking about later. The number 6 most popular dashboard is a concept called the daily flash. What is the concept of the daily flash? Pretty much every manager or every major decision maker in the organization, they should have their own daily flash dashboard. The daily flash dashboard, the idea is to see what's happening today or yesterday, what's happening right now, in anything that is very important, something really good or really bad must be highlighted, because all the normal stuff usually is just happening. Normal stuff they just work. But the things that are really good and really bad, are you giving enough of your attention? So this is an example of a daily flash for the sales manager, the VP of sales, where he can see all the top numbers, sales this today, cost of sales, gross profit, quantity sold, profitability percentage-wise, and then to highlight, in this case in red, if the profitability is below your goal. In this example, profitability should be 50% or above. So if something is below the threshold, highlight, and then if something is bad happening, you better know today, not a week from now, not a month from now, not a quarter from now. And this is a major pain point with management when they're using just regular reporting tools. We hear management say, we're driving blind, we're flying blind. We're always making decisions that we should have made weeks ago. We have to know things as they happen. And I tell them, guess what? You need a daily flash report. And I show this concept. If your sales are going to be looking at sales, if your manager inventory, you're going to have, purchasing, sales order, inventory on hand, historical transactions. But the idea is be sure every management will have a daily flash that highlights the great, the horrible, and everything between, so they can act on things as needed, not later. Get to know what you need to know today, not in the future when sometimes it's too late to act on those data points. And that is the number 6th most popular dashboard in our client base. Number 5, actually, this is also the first time that an A or aging dashboard make to the top 5. Before it was also very popular, but not in the top 5. And I believe it's for the same reason, because of the pandemic. People, when they are not paying, is there something wrong with them? Can you do something to facilitate their business? Last year, we actually came up with a promotion that if clients, would do certain things, we would actually drop the cost. We gave free license during the pandemic to help people make more informed decisions when the times were really crazy. This kind of dashboard then shows the total open balances, and then you can see different buckets using the color schema or themes. You can see where the money is coming from. You can see the money distributed by the due date. So today is here. All current invoices, slightly past due, very past due, and so forth. By salesperson, by customer, and all the details. Very good to have a perspective of what's going on with your aging. And usually managers, decision makers, they like to quickly pinpoint their analysis in things that matter. So if you're giving this kind of functionality for your users, it's better if they can easily slice and dice your data. Let's say, hey, I'm seeing that this customer has a lot of late invoices. The red is 61 to 90 days. Using this kind of framework, if you click on this particular customer, it will focus the whole dashboard only on this customer. You can see the totals, you can see who is selling to this person, where they are sending the money from, by due date, and all the details in a single shot. So super easy for a manager to click in different data points and change the report accordingly. So providing people with this kind of perspective and help allowing them to slice and dice easily their data is usually part of helping them know what they might not know today. That's the dashboard, fifth most popular. The next one is very important for companies that have recurring sales to customers or to products or to regions, is look at what we call the hot and cold performers. In this case, I'm looking customers, but you could come over here and say, I want to see instead product. Then now we're looking at the hot or cold performers from a product standpoint. Let me go back to custom because my sample database is better. What's the deal with this dashboard? Well, this dashboard on the top is showing the top, meaning the hot ones. These customers are the biggest customers by sales in this period, whatever the period is, my top customers. Usually I'm aware of them, yes, but you should be sure you're keeping track of the top. Let's put here the top 15, for instance. So this part usually is not a big deal because people know their top customers. These ones on the right are the ones growing the most since a prior period. So here you say what the last period is, and this you see what the current period is, and here you see which ones are growing the most. Sometimes these are not part of your top customers yet, but because you're growing so much, should you pay more attention to them? Should you visit them more often? Should you see what's happening, what they're doing different that they're growing so much that the other customers are not doing? Knowing who they are is usually the first data point for a decision maker to realize what else should we do to make these success stories be with other customers as well. So these two perspectives together, they give you this perspective, the biggest customers and the biggest growing customers. On the bottom of the dashboard, you have the opposite side of the business. These customers are declining the most last period versus this period. And why is that? Is there something you can do to reverse a trend? Well, to do that, the first thing is you need to know who they are, because sometimes there is something you can do to reverse a trend. Maybe they are not happy with you. Maybe the competition is still in the business. And if you know too late, well, guess it's too late. So be aware of customers decline the most or products decline the most, and be proactive in making decisions. On the right, you have what we call the no sales, meaning these customers were buying last period, but not at all this period. Is that a problem? Well, knowing who they are is the first data point to come up with that insight of, is there a problem or not? And this is the number 4 most popular report in 2021. Number 3 is financials. And financial information is absolutely critical for every business. Every business follows their P&L, their balance sheet, their numbers. And typically, in most of our clients, before Dataself, primarily they were looking at the spreadsheets and they're looking at P&L and balance sheet, and they were kind of managing the business in some capacity. Now, once you also have those P&L, balance sheet, cash flow reports, looking at the numbers, but you also add charts to show the KPIs, like, just like I mentioned about the daily flash, what financial indicators you really care. Do you want to check the wages versus revenue ratios? Should they be going up? Should they be down? And if they go in the wrong direction, when should you act on it? So this is an example where we have put the wages versus revenues as some bubbles. In the dark is this year, the lighter blue is last year, and this year is 5% bigger than last year. Should you worry about it? Sometimes if you don't see these things as in a chart, it can take a while for you to figure it out. So building your financial dashboard, showing your numbers by the details, with the pennies, whatever you want, but also plugging charts that will highlight the great and the bad is also usually critical to let people know as things happen, not too late when sometimes there's nothing else you can do to reverse certain trends. So financial analytics, there's a lot of possibilities, and I'm just showing you the story behind what people have been doing. And that's the number 3 most popular dashboard in 2021. The number 2 most popular is also an interesting story. Typically, account managers and VP of sales, they're kind of trying to close one deal at a time and working individually. But you should also look at the big picture. Let's say in the current period, the current quarter, whatever it is, look at all the salespeople, look at all the customers, all the products, all the aging, all the sales order all together, and see if some of these data points can be affecting the others. Like if this customer has a big late invoices and you sell them something new, or you are negotiating with them, you better know this before you close the deal, because this might prevent that order from going out the door. If you have an order for this customer that is late and you're trying to close a new deal, you better know before you talk with the customer. Otherwise, they're going to say, no, why are you trying to sell me something if you're not shipping whatever you ordered? So having visibility across the whole sales process, and again, if you choose some data points in one of the dashboards, being able to see how those affects the rest of your dashboard, how aging is affecting your sales order, how your sales order is affecting your aging, and so forth. That's usually critical to keep things in the knowing. So when something bad or something good is happening, you're not surprised that something else in the business will prevent that particular deal to be closed or closed with the maximum profitability that you could. This is an example of a sales dashboard. Typically, clients take their sales dashboards and they put widgets and information required to make this kind of decision. If you have CRM, should you bring your CRM to the salesperson dashboard? If you have marketing, like with HubSpot or constant contact that you want to see which clients are opening your marketing emails, all of those things should be part of the discussion of what people need to know, what account managers need to know before they call a customer, or as they're going to negotiate with the customer to be sure they are maximizing customer satisfaction and sales and profitability for your business. The number 1 most popular dashboard in our client base is called the year-over-year sales. And actually, this has been pretty popular for many years in a row. And I think because the idea is fairly simple. Typically, when you're managing a business that is sales focused, you want to see what's happening this period or the past few periods. You want to see what's happening this year, this year to date. And typically, you want to compare with the prior year, same period prior year, year to date prior year, whatever it is. So this example here, I have the year-over-year sales. Dark blue is this year, total sales this year, total sales prior year, the variance in dollar in percentage. And then I can see by period this year, how is it going versus last year. Then you can plug the main data drivers of your business. Let's say if customer is one of them, sales last year and this year and the variance, product or services, whatever, again, last year, this year and the variance, in this case by location. In all is color coded, black is growth, red is decline. Well, let's say, hey, this year right now is 2020, actually should be 2021. So let me go to 2021, which in my sample database is through August. And let's only say things through July to see how we're doing from the beginning of the year through July. So now I just sorted this whole report to show only year to date to the end of July, slightly growing since last year. And I can see that some of my customers, top customers this year, they're actually declining. Like this one, oh my God, it's declining a lot. And if you're not paying attention to this, why is that happening? Well, if I click on this customer, it will change the whole dashboard to show the totals, to show the analysis, what happened last year. We had this major sale in the period 4th. Otherwise, it was pretty flat. Maybe it was okay. Maybe it was a one-off kind of situation. I can see the shipping, and I can see that this product is driving the major decline. This kind of visibility, looking at the high level, see what's happening. When you see some point that is really good or really bad, being able to drill down into the data point to figure out more details. And even if you want to see all the single details, you should be able to see something like, show all the details. And when you click show all the details, the report should give you in a certain format the actual granular report. If it is a sales report, you should see document number, document date, the quantities, the sales, everything in a single shot. And if you need to export to Excel, export to PDF, you should be a click away. So this kind of functionality is really important to get people to know what's happening today. So I just went over 9 out of the top 10 most popular reports and dashboards. I'm going to cover 3 more. They're very important for some businesses. They're not the top most used, but if you are in distribution manufacturing, they're also very critical for many clients. So let me talk about on-hand today products and how important knowing this kind of KPIs can be. This particular dashboard shows something obvious. If you want to see what you have on hand by warehousing product, it's almost like a no-brainer. All accounting systems provide this kind of functionality. But this perspective has the following idea. You have a lot of items on hand, but you haven't sold them since a certain period. So in this case, only show me items that today I have on hand. However, the sales happen from the beginning of last year until yesterday, let's say. So these items, I have sold nothing from the beginning of last year until yesterday, and I have a lot of them on hand. So this is called the last sales date. And usually you have to be sure that this is nothing, or if you have some items that are sitting there doing nothing, push them out of the door, give them away, make a promotion, do something. Focus on what you're selling, not on what you're selling. Don't leave money sitting on your inventory. Looking at the last sales date perspective. Slow moving items is the same idea, but here you are selling some, but not enough. This is a way to see if some items in a given period, they're not selling fast enough, should you do something about them? So it's the same idea. In this case, they're not moving at all. Well, here they are moving, but not fast enough. And by the same token, days of stock. If you have some items that you have stock forever, like, I have stock enough for 12,000 days. Jesus, get it out of the way, get it out of the inventory so you can focus on things that are selling a lot more. So these are the kind of dashboard that many times also provides questions that people don't know and they should know about it. The next one is inventory planning. It's amazing how much effort and sometimes headaches go into inventory planning. The idea is you have items on hand, you have inbound items coming from purchase order or from work order, whatever the inbound item is. Then you have outbound items going sales order or projected sales. And then you have to see from this week moving forward, maybe by week, by day, or by period, what's going to happen with your inventory on hand. And should you be ordering more? Should you be offloading more items? Being able to do extensive inventory planning and projections easily and quickly is something that many companies struggle and spend a lot of time in Excel, copying, pasting, making sometimes mistakes. Putting this in a BI solution usually will automate the process. The server will do the crunching, and the people will be able to focus on how to better source the items, how to better manage the inventory, but the data crunching becomes something automated by the BI solution. The last dashboard that I want to show here is the Pareto Report. If you remember during the introduction, I mentioned that one of the companies, when they started with Dataself, they were saying, we've been looking at profitability, but we don't know exactly how to make more informed decisions with profitability. And even calculating it was complicated. When they saw this dashboard, they saw, oh my God, this is a great way to start getting our ducks in a row and organizing our business around this concept. This is called the Pareto for customer, by product, on anything that you want to analyze. Here in this first column, you can quickly change. Let's say if I want to see by product instead of by customer, so I click product. And what happens is these dark blue products, this whole thing is sorted by this column, which is the profitability. So profitability from the most profitable to the least profitable in a descending order. In the dark blue represent 80% of the profitability. So these items represent 80% of the total gross profit. And the question could be, why this item here, which has such a big sales, this is sales in the current period, why this item with so much sales have so little profitability? Is that okay? Sometimes it's okay. You know, maybe you're selling, you have a grocery store and you sell milk and you make almost no profit out of milk because you want people to buy beer when they go to buy milk. Then it's okay, right? But sometimes it's not okay. Sometimes, you know, there's some problem in your pricing, the raw materials went up, some people are not paying attention, you start to lose profitability in items that should be bringing your bottom line up. So being able to look at profitability from this perspective can be very insightful. And for this customer specifically, they were for 2 years discussing what to do with their profitability. And they were busy and they couldn't make a good decision. Once they saw this dashboard, they start to work around it and customize it and spin in different directions. And today, they have a much better understanding of profitability and how to maximize their business. So this is, you know, bunch of canned reports and their stories. What I didn't cover before was the 7th most popular perspective in our client base, and that's the ad hoc analysis. A lot of questions about that you don't know what's going on is just ad hoc. You have a new question and you need the answer. And how do you go about finding the new answer? If you don't have a BI solution, typically you have to call someone that knows your accounting package, someone that knows that the reporting tool, and ask the question. And sometimes this person is going to go, you know, going to spin the wheels, and sometimes, you know, eventually going to come back with an answer. And quite often the answer is not right or is halfway, and then you have to go back and forth many times until you get the answer. And part of this problem is because the person with the question doesn't know the technicality of finding the answer, because that's a technical job that needs a consultant, that needs someone that's no reporting tool, that no databases. That's not efficient. Primarily with a BI solution, there are many ways that people can find answers to their questions without knowing technical stuff. I'm going to show 3 different ways that if you empower them with this kind of technology using business intelligence, users will be more self-sufficient. The first one we call the slicer, and this is actually a Dataself feature that you might find in some other products. But the idea is to have a framework where a user can build an ad hoc report by learning something in a few minutes. For instance, right here, I'm looking by product. I'm looking at sales in the period 2021 for 3 months. Okay, what if I want to see sales in period 3 and 4? Press apply. So now I change the report to show only 3 periods. And instead of seeing sales by product, I want to see sales by salesperson. Sure, I go over here and I select a different data point, salesperson. This list is pre-configured, but typically you can add any data point to this list. So in this case, I'm going to choose salesperson. So now is a salesperson report for those 2 months. All right. Well, I want to break this report by customer. So I want to see by salesperson by customer. I can expand this column for the second column. And right now I already have customers, so I can see sales by salesperson by customer in those 2 months. All right. What if I want to see a breakdown by product by customer by salesperson? Sure, I can expand the column for the 3rd level and choose product. You get the point. In this case, you can drill down 4 levels down. Right now I'm showing salesperson, customer, and product. And maybe I want to see the document number. I expand it again. And now I can see the actual invoices for every salesperson, customer, product. And maybe I want to see sales and quantity shipped. You just pick and choose. By providing this kind of framework, you would allow salespeople or whoever is trying to analyze your data to easily drill down in different ways. You can use filters and find answers to their questions without calling a consultant, without having to wait. And this is the training. Once someone sees this kind of demo that I just showed you, primarily most of you could go back to here and build your own reports with 0 assistance required. You cannot create anything, no, it's only this kind of drill down, but you can go deep and wide as long as these parameters have been customized and incorporated all the fields that people would care to report out of this. Could be sales, could be GL financials, could be quantity on hand, could be inventory, could be anything. Using a slicer will give people a lot of power to be independent. People who are not necessarily savvy with reporting tools. So that's one way to enter ad hoc analysis. The second that is also very popular is using natural language query. Nowadays, if you're using a good, solid business intelligence solution, most likely you have natural language query built in. What is that and what's it for? Natural language query is like Google or Bing. You ask a question in plain English, and if the tool understands your question and has the data points to answer your question, it will build an instant, accurate report with the answer to your question. For instance, if you want to see sales by salesperson in 2020, so I just wrote in English a question. The tool gives me hits, just like when you search the internet. You select the right hit, and the tool will build, again, instantly, accurately, an answer to that question. You need to know how to ask a question. The computer needs to know how to understand your question, and will then render a precise answer. Let's say I want to see this by month. So I put by month. I even misspelled it. You got it right. Yep, I want to see by document dates month. I select it, and there it is, by salesperson. Give me a line chart showing sales by month in that particular period. I don't like charts. I want to see grids or a different chart. No problem. I can over here say, just show me a text table like Excel. And now I can see the numbers by the penny. And if I want to, I can easily select data points and tell the tool, export this to Excel because I want to do some manipulation in Excel. And now you can download the whole thing to Excel. And finding information using natural language and exporting to other tools is usually part of what you can find in enterprise BI solutions. So natural language, it's an amazing technology. Sorry, it's been around for a little over 5 years, so it's still kind of an infant phase. It's amazing how powerful it is, and again, the idea is to help people, decision makers who don't have time to learn complex reporting tools and allow them to find answers to their questions without calling someone else. So natural language query is the second functionality that you should be looking for to help with answer questions. The third and the last one I'm going to show is actually using, if you're using tools like Tableau, Power BI, or these amazing analytics tools, there's about a handful of them in the upper market. In Tableau and Power BI are the top two. They are very empowering. If you are a business person and you have a little bit of bandwidth to learn a little bit of reporting design, this is it. This is the most intuitive reporting tool you can find out there in the upper market. And let me show how it works. So this part is the report editor. And right now I'm using the Tableau report editor. The Power BI report editor is about the same framework. It's kind of as easy as Tableau. And the idea is, if you know how to drag and drop, you can do it. Let's say I want to see sales by customer in a given period. I can find the data point here. So customer is here. I drag to my report. So these are all my customers. I want to see sales. So I find the measure sales. I drag to my report. Right now I'm seeing sales by customer in the whole company history. I want to see my top customers history. I can just sort quickly. And these are my top customers by sales in my whole history. Well, cool. But I want to see in this period. Well, I can find the invoice date, put in my columns, and by default, the tool will put sales by year in the whole company history. Well, I only want to see sales in this year. So let me say, show my year as a filter. And then now I have the filter on the right, and I only want to see, let's say, 2021. I think my sample database 2022 is the current fiscal year. All right, so only this year. Well, I want to see by period. Now I can drill down from the year, press the plus. I go to the quarter level, I press the plus. I go to the month level. So right now in my sample database, I went all the way down to June 2022. What if I only want to see June 22? Sure, I can make this a filter as well, show as a filter. And now I only want to see June. And that's it. From scratch, drag and dropping, pointing, clicking, I can see sales by customer in June 2022. And if I want to compare to last year, I select last year. Now I can see sales in June last year versus sales in June this year. When you use tools like Tableau and Power BI, even though, yes, it takes some knowledge to learn, but if you compare against, let's say, Crystal or Excel or the Acumatica built-in reporting tool, this is significantly easier to do the same work that will require a consultant using built-in reporting tools. And that's the power of business intelligence, is providing users who usually don't have time to learn reporting tools to be more independent in being able to find their answer to their questions anytime and anywhere. All right. So with that, I conclude the actual part of the showing how BI can inspire people, and you can use any high-level BI to do the thing that I just showed you. What I'm going to show now specifically is everything that I showed you so far. I was using the Dataself analytics framework, pulling data out of source systems like Sage ERP, CRM, Acumatica, in other systems like Salesforce.com, and many others. And what this technology does, again, this enterprise BI is there's a data warehouse, a SQL Server data warehouse behind the scenes doing part of the magic. A lot of data preparation, a lot of data cleaning that sometimes we do in Excel, in Crystal, is very labor intensive. Data warehousing can completely automate the mechanical part of data preparation. In the way that Dataself does is using the ETL Plus tool. ETL is extraction, transformation, loading tool, is a tool that makes data warehousing significantly simple and fast to deploy and to maintain. So our data warehousing, unlike competitors, is enterprise grade, meaning it's amazingly powerful, yet it's easier to deploy and maintain because we leverage our ETL Plus technology. The next layer is using tools like Tableau and Power BI. And today I showed you the Tableau user interface. Power BI works about the same framework. These two products are the two most successful in the upper market. If you follow the Gartner Magic Quadrant, for the past 5 years in a row or so, these two products continue to be the top two, by far way ahead of the competition. So if you're looking and if you don't have any BI solution that you're considering, I highly encourage you to stick with the Gartner level BI solutions. In working with the top two, if you do, you'll feel much better. You'll have less problems, less maintenance, and a lot more success, usually. So I highly encourage you, if you're looking for BI solutions, to look at one of those two. With Dataself, if you go with Dataself, the good news is already included. Part of Dataself comes with these two tools, one of them. So you don't have to do your assessment. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We are the data geek people looking at the solutions and embracing them, connecting them to the data warehouse, connecting to your source systems. So when you decide to go with a BI solution, you maximize industry best practices instead of starting from scratch. So that's what we already have connected. And finally, with Dataself, we have a lot of reports and dashboards ready to go. With Tableau, we have actually more than 7,000 reports and dashboards covering P&L, balance sheet, financials, APAR, sales, inventory, purchasing, service, a lot. With Power BI, we've been working just for the past couple of years or so. We have a much smaller library, it's about 1,000, but we are building Power BI library to be equivalent to Tableau to help you guys focus on data analysis, not in plumbing and building things from scratch. So that's what the Dataself architecture brings together for clients. And everything that I showed you today here would be available out of the box, pretty much with this sentence. We can get you from 0 to enterprise BI in 10 minutes. Yes, we need to discuss. Yes, we need to close the deal. Yes, we need to, to define user security. But once we say go, pretty much in minutes, everything that I showed you here today would be available as a starting point using your data. Could be Sage data, Sage 100, 300, 500, X3. We're about to roll out Sage Intacct as well, Salesforce.com, HubSpot, Acumatica, and many other systems. So one of the beauties of Dataself is, if you start from scratch, if you want to go and build your own BI solution with the right people, you'll be successful. It's amazing how many tools out there can help you be successful. If you don't want to reinvent the wheel and you want to get the results now, not in 6 months, Dataself usually proves to be an amazing way to go. Will that break the bank? Well, if you want to see our pricing, pretty much you can go to our website, dataself.com. Just go to dataself.com, click pricing, and you see that we do not break the bank. Our pricing starts at $400 per month, and pretty much almost everything that I showed you today is included for this fee. If you have more elaborate needs, if you want more power, then we have, let me just make this a little bit smaller. We have, an entry level that is amazingly powerful for $400 per month. The next level is $1,000 per month. The enterprise is a little above. About 70% of our clients start with this version and they never go to the other versions. It's amazing how much power you get for $400. And primarily, almost everything that I showed you today is covered by this fee here. So our pricing usually does not break the bank. Having said that, I'm going to open for questions and answers. And here there's a little summary of what I cover from a Dataself.
Thank you, Johnny. We'll now open it up for questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions section of your GoToWebinar. And just to remind everyone, we do have a subject matter expert here. This is a great opportunity to have your questions answered in real time. And we did have 3 questions come in during the presentation, Johnny. The first is, we are on Sage 100 2019 Premium. The dashboards you are demonstrating are great. Are they based on an out-of-box Sage 100 data model?
Yes. Everything that I showed you, Sage 100 was the first ERP system that we started to work with in the year 2005, and continues to be, because we've been working with Sage 100 for so long, Sage 100 continues to be our #1 client base, and everything that I showed here today is ready to go for Sage 100, all versions. We can go back to 10 years ago. If you have the Providex version, you have the SQL version, we're compatible with all of them.
We have another. What is the Dataself pricing structure? Does every user require a license to view reports? I assume Dataself is a software as a service model. Do you support single sign-on integration with AD via Okta?
We got a data geek asking questions here. Good question. Yes. So first of all, our licensing uses named user license. So every person must have their own login credentials. Each of these pricing here includes 20 users. So no matter which solution you choose, there's 20 users. And by the way, the reason we have 20 users is because we have found that in our client base, most companies have less than 20 BI users. So we decided, hey, let's just start with 20. So we remove the user discussion out of the way. If you have less than 20 users, don't worry, you're covered way well. If you need more than 20 users, then the price per additional 10 users is $49 per month, meaning is about $5 per user per month in buckets of 10. We're pretty much, if you look our pricing model compared to other enterprise level BI, we are significantly more affordable. And what I'm showing you here is Tableau users. So this is really affordable additional user pricing. As far as authentication, yes, if you use AD authentication, Active Directory authentication, especially using, let's say, Azure, we can completely do a single sign-on framework. The framework that we're currently using, both with the Tableau Power BI, uses what's called SAML authentication. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term SAML. The point is, if you're using Microsoft Authentication or Azure Authentication, it can be completely single sign-on. Once a user has logged to your AD in their Windows machine or their web browser, when they go to Dataself and they click to see a dashboard, it will go straight to that dashboard without requiring user logging in. If you do not use SAML or some of these authentication protocols, there are usually other ways we can simplify the authentication. But if you do use, it's pretty much built into the SAML framework.
And we have a follow-up question to that one. We have hundreds of users who need access to the reports.
When you have hundreds of users, we should have a one-on-one call to see exactly what kind of needs you have. There are many ways we have here. Let me see if I remember. There's certain functionality here that can address the needs of hundreds of users, even thousands, in an effective way, but depends on the details. So I would encourage you to schedule a call with us here to see exactly what you're doing, why you're doing, and see if our licensing model would make sense for your business. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it becomes too expensive. Until we know the details, I don't know exactly if it's going to work for you. But we do have clients that have hundreds of users, and they're not breaking the bank. It can be also pretty affordable.
Perfect. And we have one more. Does Dataself come with out-of-box ETL solution for the Sage 100 data model?
Yes. As I mentioned before, Sage 100, we've been working for 16 years in the ETL framework that I showed you before. Let's just bring this up again. This ETL framework is our own ETL tool. It's being fine-tuned a lot to work with the Sage 100 data model, both in Providix and in SQL. So pretty much if you have any of those two, the ETL will work really fast and really well.
Perfect. And that looks like all the questions we have, Johnny. So give me one moment as I take back screen control.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Johnny, for your informative presentation and for taking the time to be here today. And thank you, everyone, for attending our webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Jolene, and thank you all for joining us.